N as in Nancy, C as in Charlie.com, or by telephone at area code 919-924-0463. Again, that's 919-924-0463. And now I want to get back to this conversation about commitment, trust, and healthy relationships. So, Louis, you also in your article stress the importance of open communication. So what does this look like? What would open communication be?
Okay, so I recommend, this is just my recommendation, that couples who have committed to each other, that they have quarterly check-ins. Meaning that you do this 4 times a year. Now, the reason I say quarterly is because I think every month or every 2 months would be overkill. Okay. And I think once every 6 months is too far apart.
Gotcha.
So I think couples should have a check-in every 90 days where they sit down and talk about the relationship, not the kids, not the bills. You could do that anytime.
Right.
But just what should be added to the marriage, what should be taken away, what's working, what's not working, you know what I'm saying, plan some date nights, things like that. So in that regard, you're always communicating about the marriage because that's the most important relationship.
Right.
Regardless. That's the most important relationship. The kids are important. We're not saying that the kids aren't important, but they're not as important as you and your wife or your husband. They're not as important as, no. So you have to be able to talk and discuss and work out and add to and subtract from the marriage in order to keep it alive and growing and getting better and like this. So that's what, that's part of what I meant by having open communication. And both people have to be, honest, and they have to be able to take constructive criticism. I don't mean yelling at each other and calling each other names. I'm always talking against that. I'm just saying be able to take criticism in order to improve the relationship.
Well, and I love that because in pretty much every other area of our lives, we give and get feedback. But for some reason, a lot of times in marriage, the feedback comes up in not necessarily planned and therefore not healthy ways. I mean, if we're kind of just, if I'm annoyed with you and we're having an off-the-cuff conversation, then the chance of it, going into the ditch is high. Whereas if we have this set time where we're just going to kind of do a review of how things are going, on a regular basis, where we can course correct. People miscommunicate all the time. I will say things and my husband doesn't understand what I mean, or vice versa. And it's not a big deal, right? It's like, okay, let's fix this. But if that miscommunication or that misconnection goes on for too long, then, our marriage can be in real trouble. I remember hearing from a pilot that if you are off course just by 1 degree, which is not much, right? After a couple of hours, you're thousands of miles off course. because we haven't stopped to pay attention. And I think the same thing of relationships. And the other thing I think that happens is that if we're not meeting and talking about the relationship, then things can get taken for granted, and the importance of that relationship is diminished. And I think that's what you're saying about the need to have these regular things to keep the marriage front and center.
Yeah, absolutely, because that's the most important relationship that you have in your life. Now, I've gotten pushback on that. People say, well, what about your mother, your father, and all, what about the kids? But you really have to think about it from an intimate standpoint. There's nobody that you pillow talk with.
Right.
Except your husband or your wife. That's who you pillow talk with. I mean, about things, about significant things.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, and everybody knows what that is. Everybody knows what pillow talk is. It's pretty intimate.
Right.
You don't do that with your mother. You're not doing that with your father.
But anyway, we hope you're not doing that with your mother.
You're not doing that. You know what I'm saying? You're not doing that with them. So you have to look at it from that. There's nobody that you're closer to than that person. And I'm just using that as an example. You know what I'm saying? But that's a concrete example. To prove that there's nobody closer to you than that person.
Well, but going back to what you were saying at the beginning, and, this is what I tell my clients, is that, that forsaking all others part of the marriage vow, that means everybody that's not your spouse. And I know we live in a very child-centric society where, we want to, make sure our children have everything that they need to succeed. And what most people either aren't aware of or forget is that the biggest gift that you can give your kids is to take care of your marriage, because that's what gives them the strong foundation, not that they get everything that they want to have. And I think that that's a focus that has gotten shifted. I'm not exactly sure why. I have my own theories, but it's really about how do we protect this primary relationship. So I want to ask, what gets in the way of having this open communication, this open, regular communication? Why is it that couples don't do this?
Okay, well, it could be a number of things. One, they start to, like you said, they start to take the marriage for granted. That could be a problem. Mm-hmm. They start to think to themselves, he or she's not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a bad thought. That's not a good thought. But they start to think that, or maybe they think that they're too busy to do it. They think, but you're never too busy to talk to your significant other. You know what I'm saying? You could do that by by preparing a meal together, what I'm saying, and have a conversation. You can do it then. It's not like you have to sit down at a table like you're, at a business meeting, what I'm saying? No, you don't have to do it that way. You can say, look, why don't we, cook some spaghetti tonight, and just, hang out, and you can talk that way. But you have to make time for each other to have important conversations about what you two want from each other and how you want the relationship to move forward. You have to take time to do those things, and you have the time. It's not like you don't have it. It's just that you two have to make the time for one another and not take the marriage or relationship for granted, thinking that the other person is going to always be there, because that may not necessarily be the case. People, they have a tipping point. People have a tipping point, and you don't want to reach that, if you want to keep the marriage intact. So, you just have to make time,
Right. Yeah, I have a difficult time when people tell me that they don't have time. And I'm looking at them going, if you don't have time to have regular conversations with your partner, why are you in this relationship? It is. It kind of like, now I suppose that there are some people, or maybe there are times of a year where maybe, you don't have time because of things that are going on. But I think for the most part, most of us do. But Louis, are there other aspects of relationship other than trust and open conversation that people should be focusing on?
A lot of times couples, when they're in the marriage and they're together for a long time, they stop dating, which is a problem. This is a real big issue. You know what I'm saying? And I've talked about it, ad nauseum, but this is the issue. You can't do that because dating is what brought you two together, and part of the reason you decided to get married is because you dated one another, you courted one another, and you went places together. You talked about things when you were on dates. You need to keep doing that. You need to keep doing. Now, you don't have to do it every weekend or anything like that, but you need to have a regular dating schedule. And it doesn't have to be at night. People kill me with that, where they get into this date night thing. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like a date night thing. No, you can have dates in the daytime. Right. There's nothing wrong with dating in the daytime. But you have to make this time to continue to date one another so that you can continue to grow as a couple. Because you're human beings. We're just human beings with flesh, with blood, with feelings, with emotions. So if we don't put in the work to grow and cultivate anything, then it's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? You can't just have a plant and you just sit the plant in the house. You don't talk to the plant. You don't water the plant. You don't get the plant any sunlight. And you expect the plant to grow and continue to blossom. It's not going to happen. No. You know what I'm saying? So we're human beings. We need that from our significant other. We need to continue to grow and cultivate the marriage and relationship. And dating is an excellent way to do that. So that's my advice there. Right.
And my listeners know that I talk about dating is to be with each other, enjoy each other's company, not talk about the bills, not talk about the kids, but it's having fun and being with this person that you've chosen. And, it's like most things, it's easier to keep it going than, to stay healthy than try to get healthy. So it's like if you're just starting out, guys, please don't stop dating. If you've been together for a while and you haven't been dating, it's like start and it might feel a little awkward at times, but it is about going and doing fun things together. And I suggest that you have I suggest date jars where you write down things that you would like to do and you stick it in a jar. So when you're trying to so when you're planning a date, you don't have to do it from scratch. You just go to the jar and go, okay, what are we going to do this time? Make it fun. But and we get, and again, I hear, well, we don't have time to do that, or it costs too much. And that, by the way, you can have a date that doesn't cost any money at all. We just have to start getting a little bit more creative about these things because it really is what keeps us connected to each other. And that's why we're married, right? I mean, So what else, other than dating, what else should couples be paying attention to?
Yeah, well, listen, this is a P, so I'm going to be quick. Okay. I'm going to be fast with you. Many times when couples get upset with each other, right, they get into, a little funk. They stop having sex. That is a problem. Yes. No, you don't stop that then. You try to increase it at that time. Right. Don't stop. That's not what you want. Because when now I don't mean just like, I mean actually where you're love making. Yes. Don't stop. No, you need to go forward with that because it's another form of intimacy that bonds the couple together. So and when you stop doing that, you're pulling further apart. You're not the chances of you getting closer at that time, it reduces because you're not being intimate in that way anymore. So you need to keep that connection going during that time. You know what I'm saying? But many couples, they stop it because there's a problem in the relationship and they they're not communicating well. Well, you can't, that's not the way to do it. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Well, I mean, and you know, and this is the time where if couples are struggling with that, that's when they need to call you and